Leo, my radiant soul, you already own something far greater than you think, an extraordinary property, a sacred place chosen just for you, and its location will truly shock you. This isn't just about real estate. This is a message that goes deeper than material gain. What's being revealed today is a Kalingan invitation from the universe. And if you're watching this right now, I need you to understand something. You didn't stumble on this by accident. That gentle tug in your chest, that unexplained curiosity that brought you here, that is the message. What we're about to explore together is not a generic horoscope. It's not a quick prediction for entertainment. It's a spiritual unveiling. A sacred moment for the Leo who has carried burdens quietly, who has kept pushing, even when no one noticed. And now, finally, the universe is placing something powerful in your hands, a hidden sanctuary. A place that was spiritually reserved for you long before you had words for what you truly needed. You see, for someone like you, someone built from fire, pride, and relentless heart, it's not easy to admit when you're tired. It's not easy to ask for something more. You've learned to survive on applause and visibility. But lately, that hasn't felt like enough. Not deep down. This video is for that version of you, the version that's been quietly craving rest, stillness, and something real. And what's coming your way now is not loud or flashy. It's not recognition from the world. It's something far more important. A sacred place where your soul can finally breathe. Where your body doesn't have to perform. Where your heart doesn't have to armor up just to be seen. The most surprising part? It's not where you imagined. The location of this property, this energetic inheritance, is going to challenge your logic. It won't match your previous goals or your checklist. But the moment your spirit senses it, something will shift. You'll just know. That's the real message here, not that you're going to stumble across land or a key in the mail, but that you're stepping into a phase of life where what you truly need will begin to appear in unexpected forms. Peace instead of applause. Shelter instead of pressure. Soul connection instead of shallow celebration. And if any part of this resonates with you even a little, I want you to pause and ask yourself, why am I hearing this today? What part of me knows it's time to go deeper? Take a breath. Because today might be the first time in a long while that you're not being asked to do more but simply to receive. And before we go further, let me say this, thank you. Not just for watching this video, but for showing up for yourself. Every time you comment, like, share, or subscribe, you aren't just helping this channel grow. You're anchoring yourself into a collective field of intention and faith. You're saying yes to growth. Yes to alignment. Yes to healing. And that matters. So take this as your invitation to stay until the very end. Because what the universe is whispering now is not just for anyone. It's for you. It's personal. It's holy. And yes, Leo, it's real. If you feel it in your gut that this message was meant for you, I invite you to comment below and simply write, I claim it. Not for me. For you. To say to the universe, I'm ready. Let's go deeper. Because what's coming next might just change everything. Leo, for someone like you who's used to standing at the center of every room, holding space with boldness and light, it can be strangely disorienting when the next big thing doesn't come with a spotlight. That's why this part of the journey might feel so unexpected. The universe isn't placing you in front of a crowd right now. It's calling you toward a quiet corner of the world, one that looks ordinary on the outside but vibrates with something ancient, personal, and strangely familiar. This is not the grand entrance you thought you'd make. This is a return. A homecoming you didn't even know your soul had planned for. Sometimes, the most significant blessings don't shout. They whisper. And often, they come from places we dismissed or never even noticed. That's what makes this moment so sacred. There is a space, not necessarily a physical house, but a sacred place within and around you where your next chapter is ready to be written. And the coordinates? They're not mapped in logic. They're felt in the body, in the subtle shifts of your energy, in the inexplicable feeling that you're being pulled somewhere new. What makes this particular property, this gift, so different is that it's not about getting more. It's about being aligned. It's about resting where you no longer have to perform, and healing in a space where nothing is asked of you except truth. And yes, this place exists. Not because you worked harder than others, but because your frequency has changed. That's the part most people forget about the law of attraction. It's not just about wanting more, it's about becoming the version of you who naturally receives more, with less effort, less noise, and more clarity. Your energy has matured. That's what this is really about. You've stopped chasing outcomes and started becoming more present to what actually matters. This shift, subtle but powerful, is what opens portals. And one of those portals has led to this property, a sacred space that holds the key to your personal evolution. It's not about escaping life. It's about finding the environment that reflects who you've become. Somewhere quiet enough for you to hear your own voice again. Somewhere still enough to hold your real power. You might not have known you were ready for this, but your soul did. That's why you felt so drawn lately to certain images, certain dreams, certain locations that defy explanation. You're not imagining things. You're remembering something. That odd connection you felt to a remote town, a house in the mountains, or a quiet path near the sea that wasn't random. That was memory. Soul memory. A spiritual breadcrumb guiding you back to something that belongs to you. This is also where numerology comes into play. The energies of 7 and 9, both sacred in their own ways, often appear in cycles of endings, awakenings, and transitions. 7 is the seeker, the spiritual student. 9 is the closer, the one who ties up loose ends with grace and prepares for rebirth. The fact that these numbers are showing up now in synchronicities, receipts, clocks, addresses, it's not a coincidence. It's confirmation. You're entering the kind of season where what was once invisible now becomes undeniable. The beauty of all of this is that it's not a metaphor. It's a felt reality. A shift you can sense in your bodiless urgency, more peace. Fewer questions, clearer answers. And if you're listening closely, the signs are all around you. Not flashy, but consistent. Not loud, but certain. It's okay if you don't know all the steps yet. What matters is that you're already in motion. This message found you because your soul whispered, "I'm ready." And the universe responded, "Then let's begin." I'm not here to impress you with theories. I'm here to affirm what you already feel but may have doubted. You are being led. You are being guided. You are not lost. You are being gathered toward a place, a moment, a chapter that will hold you, heal you, and ask nothing of you except your presence. So let me ask you, sincerely, have you ever dreamed of a place that felt oddly familiar, like you belonged there before you even arrived? Have you ever felt pulled to a space that made no logical sense, but gave you peace you couldn't explain? If your answer is yes, write it below. Share it. Claim it. Because your clarity isn't just Aravinj, it's already here. What most people don't see when they look at you, Leo, is just how much you've had to carry in silence. You're known for your strength, your presence, your fire, but not many truly understand the weight of being the one who always shines. That shine, as magnetic as it is, has often been your armor. You've learned to smile through betrayal, to keep going even when your heart was exhausted, to hold the line when no one asked how much it cost you to stand tall. And this is the part of your journey that deserves to be honored, not the triumphs that everyone applauds, but the quiet, invisible work you've done behind the curtain. There's a point on every soul's path when effort no longer comes from force but from surrender. And for you, that point wasn't a dramatic fall. It was subtle. It came when you stopped needing to prove your worth and started wondering where your real peace was hiding. That's when the shift began. That's when your energy started to change. And with it, your magnetic field shifted from chasing validation to attracting truth. It's no coincidence that now, after all this inner lab, or a long-awaited gift is surfacing in your reality. This mysterious property we're speaking of isn't just a physical space, it's a manifestation of your resilience. A sacred reward, not because you pushed harder than others, but because you didn't give up when you easily could have. You walked through seasons of confusion, silence, and false smiles. You dealt with people who misunderstood you, who feared your power, or who only saw what you projected but not who you really are. And in all of that, you kept showing up. You kept the faith in your own timing, even when you didn't have evidence. That kind of faith doesn't just disappear into the wind. It builds momentum. It bends the fabric of reality over time, calling in what's meant for you. In tarot, this moment is beautifully reflected in the Hermit and the Star. The Hermit symbolizes the necessary solitude of self-discovery, of pulling away from the noise to hear your own truth. It's the dark night of the soul. But the Star? That's the promise of healing, of cosmic alignment, of being seen for who you are without the armor. Together, these cards tell your story. You went inward, even when it was uncomfortable. And now, the light you carry isn't just bright, it's clear. It's no longer about being the loudest. It's about being aligned. That's why this reward, the symbolic property, is showing up now. Not when you were trying to make it happen. But now, when you're ready to receive from a place of openness, not effort. That's how the law of attraction works at the highest level. When you finally release the need to control the outcome meets you where you are. Not because you forced it, but because your energy matured into match with what was already promised. And what's being promised to you now isn't shallow success or temporary applause. It's something much more rooted. A new season where your stability, emotional safety, and spiritual clarity become non-negotiable. You don't have to earn this space. You've already been doing the work quietly, faithfully. The universe is simply catching up with what your soul has known all along. So if this resonates, if there's a part of you that's felt like you've been carrying something alone, say it. Not for attention, but for freedom. Speak what's been heavy. Even if it's just in the comments section, say, This is the part one carried alone. Or share your story, the one no one knows. There is so much power in acknowledging what was once buried. You are not alone. And this part of your journey is not meant to remain in the dark. You've reached a turning point, Leo. From being the one who had to be seen, to becoming the one who can finally see themselves clearly, fully, and without apology. That's the real reward. And it's arriving, right on time. There's something unspoken that happens when you finally arrive at the place your soul was always meant to return to. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks. There's no red carpet. But you feel it like a gentle shift in the air, like your nervous system finally taking its first full breath in years. It's not just peace you feel. It's recognition. Like the ground knows you. Like the wind has been waiting. That's the kind of place we're talking about here, soul property, a space where healing begins before words even catch up. This isn't about luxury or status. It's not something you show off. It's a sacred space, internal and external, where old cycles are softened, where sharp edges become smooth again, and where your spirit is no longer in survival mode. It's hard to explain until you experience it. But it's real. You don't need a key to access it. What you need is permission from yourself to rest, to stop running, and to allow the healing to begin. For a Leo, this space might feel unfamiliar at first. You're made of fire. You're used to motion, passion, direction. But this place? It carries the frequency of water. Still. Deep. Reflective. It invites you to listen more than you speak, to feel instead of perform. It brings your fire into balance with intuition. That's not a loss of power. It's an evolution of it. When Leo's fire meets water's wisdom, something potent happens. Your leadership becomes rooted in compassion, not ego. Your decisions come from alignment, not impulse. Your voice doesn't just roar, it resonates. That's why this soul property isn't just about where you live, but how you live. It's a space of energetic upgrade. The environment around you begins to mirror the clarity within you. And that clarity? It doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from slowing down intentionally. When you step into this frequency, you'll notice the pace of time itself seems to soften. Thoughts untangle. Emotions settle. You hear things you hadn't heard in years, your own needs, your own inner voice, your own dreams that got buried under the noise of doing too much for too long. And yes, there are simple practices that can support this transition. Meditation doesn't have to be complicated. Just sit somewhere quiet for 15 minutes a day. Listen to your breath. Listen to what your body's been trying to tell you. Herbal tea, especially dandelion, ginger, or peppermint, can help release stored tension from your liver and gut, the places most impacted by emotional stress. And if you can, take a sea salt bath. Imagine yourself surrounded by white light. Visualize all the old energy draining away. You don't need to believe in magic. Your body already knows what release feels like. Even the colors you wear or surround yourself with carry a frequency. Deep sapphire blue helps activate your intuitive center, while gold strengthens your solar identity. These aren't aesthetic choices, energetic tools. When you pair color with conscious intention, your space becomes a co-healer with you. And please remember, this isn't hiding. This is reclaiming. A true sanctuary doesn't cut you off from the world. It prepares you to re-enter it with clarity, strength, and calm. This is about full restoration, not avoidance. You're not running away from life. You're preparing to meet it again, this time on your terms. If you've ever had a dream of a place that felt more real than reality, a place you couldn't name but couldn't forget either, that wasn't fiction. That was guidance. That was memory. That was the soul showing you where healing begins. If that feels like something you've experienced, take a moment and comment 999 below. Let it be a small but sacred confirmation of the connection you already feel. You don't need permission to step into peace. You just need the courage to claim it. Some of the most powerful healing doesn't begin with you, it begins through you. And when it does, you don't always see it coming. You don't always recognize that the deep restlessness inside, the strange feeling that you're carrying more than just your own story, is actually a call to go back, not backward, but back through the lineage. Through the memory. Through the weight that's been passed down for generations, sometimes through silence, sometimes through pain. In this part of your journey, you're not just receiving a gift, you're reclaiming something on behalf of those who came before you. This mysterious property showing up now, this energetic space you're being drawn into, holds more than peace for your future. It holds pieces of a story that never got to finish writing itself. Maybe someone in your family once dreamed big but never had the freedom to follow through. Maybe someone's voice was silenced, someone's truth dismissed, someone's worth overlooked. And maybe, just maybe, we inherited not only their name, their bloodline, but also their unfinished longing for healing. When I look at your energy, Leo, what I see is someone standing between two worlds, the weight of history behind you and the promise of renewal ahead. In the language of tarot, this moment mirrors the Six of Cups and Judgment, past innocence meeting present purpose. The Six of Cups invites you to remember, to feel the echoes of what was, not to dwell, but to draw strength from it. Judgment then brings the call to rise, not just as yourself, but as the bridge between what was lost and what can now be made whole. This property, then, is not just land or a house site's sacred ground. It's an energetic portal where old wounds can find closure and ancestral burdens can finally exhale. And you, Leo, with your heart that feels everything so fiercely, were chosen to be the one who brings that peace. Not because you're perfect, but because you're willing. Because you've walked through enough of your own fire to know how to carry light forward. In numerology, when 11 or 44 begins appearing around you in receipts, in time stamps, in random moments, it's often a signal that you're stepping into a spiritual role bigger than yourself. 11 is the number of spiritual awakening and divine insight. 44 is the master number of foundation, legacy, and protective structure. Together, they whisper, this is the work that heals not only you, but those who came before. There's no need for grand rituals here. Just intention. Just honesty. If it resonates, write a letter to someone in your family, maybe someone you never met, or someone who never got to speak their truth. Light a white candle and simply listen. Not with your ears, but with your heart. Hang a wind chime near your doorway or place a small symbol near your home's entrance, something that reminds you that this space is now protected, blessed, and awake. These gestures aren't about superstition. They're about reverence. About letting the universe know you're showing up for what others had to put down too soon. And if reading this brought someone to mind, a grandparent, an uncle, a mother, a sibling didn't brush it off. That name came up for a reason. Say it aloud. Or, if you feel comfortable, write their name in the comments below. Let this be a space where their presence is honored and brought back into light. You were not chosen to carry the weight forever. You were chosen to bring it home, to lay it down, and to give it peace. And in doing so, you free yourself, too. You create space inside for new joy, deeper love, and a future that doesn't repeat the old story but reclaims it, with dignity. This is not just your healing. It's a redemption arc long overdue. Sometimes the place that was always meant for you looks nothing like what you imagined. It doesn't come with neon signs or obvious confirmation. In fact, it might be somewhere quiet, remote, off the map. The kind of place you once drove past without thinking twice, or maybe saw in a dream and dismissed because it felt too strange, too unfamiliar. But here's the truth, that place has never stopped calling you. And now, it's calling louder than ever. This chapter isn't about chasing what's loud or glamorous. It's about remembering what feels like home, real home. Not just physically, but energetically. The kind of home that speaks to your nervous system before your mind catches up. A place where time slows down, where the air holds still just long enough for you to hear what your spirit has been trying to say for years. That's the power of aligned space. That's what happens when the energy of a location resonates with the blueprint of your soul. For Leo, this might feel a bit contradictory. You're a sign of presence, of impact, of light. You thrive in the middle of life, not on the sidelines. But sometimes, true sovereignty requires retreat. Not to hide but to reset. To remember who you are when no one's watching. Often, the deeper layers of your chart, like your moon or your IC, the point of roots and emotional foundation, can hold clues. If those placements fall in water or earth signs, chances are, you've always been meant to find stillness near something ancient. A mountain. A forest. The ocean. Something that grounds you, holds you, quiets the noise long enough for clarity to rise. You may have thought your throne would be built in the spotlight, in the city, among movement and momentum. But what if your real throne was waiting in the unexpected? What if it was a modest cabin near the sea, a house on inherited land you once shrugged off, or a simple home in a small town where the air feels different, like it knows you? This isn't about giving up your fire. It's about finding the space where your fire is protected, not consumed. And yes, there may be hesitation. The ego often resists what the soul already knows. But the longer you delay answering this call, the louder the misalignment becomes. You might start feeling more drained in places you used to love. Crowds might feel heavier. Certain conversations might start to feel hollow. That's not a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that you're being redirected gently but clearly towards something that finally feels real. What's beautiful is that this place doesn't just hold space for you, it remembers you. You might not understand why you feel pulled there. You might not even know how or when it will happen. But something in your body knows. It recognizes the terrain. It recognizes the peace that comes from not needing to explain who you are all the time. When you stand on that land, whether it's literal soil or symbolic ground, there's no need to perform. You simply belong. In astrology, destiny doesn't always show up as a loud event. It often arrives as a quiet invitation, a repeated image, a persistent dream, a strange sense of comfort in an unlikely place. The law of attraction teaches us that everything moves toward frequency. So if your energy has changed, your landscape will, too. That's how you know this isn't random. It's resonance. So here's something to sit with. Have you ever visited a place that made no sense logically, but felt like a piece of you lived there? A place that stirred something you couldn't quite name? If so, don't ignore that. That's not fantasy. That's alignment in disguise. And maybe just maybe that's the place you've been preparing for all along. If any part of this feels familiar to you, I invite you to write about it in the comments. Share the place you've always felt drawn to, even if it doesn't make sense. You never know who else may have felt the same. You never know what that reflection might unlock in someone else or in you. You're not being asked to abandon your world. You're being offered a new foundation for it. And that foundation? It's not just a location. It's a state of being. It's where your true voice will rise again, not as an echo, but as your clearest sound yet. If you've made it here, to this very moment, let me gently remind you, that's not an accident. There are no coincidences when the soul is listening. This entire journey we've walked together through recognition, restlessness, remembrance, and now revelation has been preparing you for one thing, to come home. And not just to a place, but to yourself. To the version of you that no longer begs to be seen because they finally see themselves. To the energy that no longer performs for love, because it is love. And to the path that no longer needs to be forced because it's finally opening to meet you where you are. What you've discovered here is more than a message, it's a mirror. A reflection of what your spirit has always known but maybe didn't have words for. And this property we've talked about? It isn't a prize you have to win. It's a promise made to your soul long before this lifetime. No one can take it from you. No force can interfere with what is already written in the language of energy. What's yours is finding its way to you not because you've earned it by suffering, but because you had the courage to keep going. To keep trusting. To keep believing that even in the silence, you were being led. So now, Leo, I ask you, are you ready to claim the version of yourself that's already been waiting for you in this new space? Are you willing to release the noise, the roles, the pressure and answer the quiet call of your destiny? You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to know how. All you need is willingness. That's where the shift begins. Let this be the moment you say yes to what's always been yours. Let this be the doorway you step through not with fear, but with faith. And if you felt even the smallest flicker of truth in what you heard today, I invite you to take one small action to anchor it. Comment 777 below to affirm that you are ready to step into your destined space. Share in the comments if you've ever felt a place calling you without knowing why. Your words might unlock someone else's truth, too. And if this message found you at the right time, know that your presence here is a gift. Thank you truly for being part of this moment. Your likes, your comments, your subscriptions theory not just numbers. They are acts of energy exchange, of resonance. Each one sends ripples into the universe, allowing messages like this to reach others who are still finding their way. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness, like this video, and share it forward. You never know who might need to hear what you just received. As you close this window and return to your day, carry this with you. Your soul already knows the way. You are not lost. You are being remembered. And I hope deeply that you find that sacred place where your peace no longer needs to be chased, because it is you. Until next time, walk gently, speak kindly to yourself, and trust the path that's unfolding beneath your feet. The journey is not over. It's just beginning.